Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Ladies, understand something. The top end of a woman's weight is 145 pounds. Okay. My mother's 5'9", and she was 145 pounds until she was 50. That's the top end of your weight, because there should be about a 40-pound difference between you and men.
Basically, if the guy is rich, what ends up happening is the lawyer contacts the person and be like, hey, you know, your name gonna be all in the paper, so you might as well just settle out of court.
I can recognize talent. Even if I don't agree with the politics, a lot of the politics that was underlying in the show and some of the sentiments he was trying to share, I recognize artistry when an artist is present.
Yes, this is the definition of absolutely cooked. We'll never go back and take a look at her bad decision and take accountability for any of that.
Because there is powerful people in the industry, somehow there is a different law that applies to them. And I agree with that assessment.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close my ancestors speak, they tell me they're tighter than brain on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I surpass peak, until they think we are equal. Please, all I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their palms would bleed, begging that generations remember our story.
What's going on, peoples? Peace and blessings. Happy Tuesday. I hope all is well with everybody in attendance. I appreciate you for pulling up on this morning's King Table. Shout out to my writers, my poets, my viewers, to the new subscribers, man, that tapped in with me on YouTube. I appreciate that. I want to say thank you, for coming out, showing some support as we progress and we try to tackle some of these discussions that they don't want to cover for political reasons. I was really trying to decide when to do this, but I felt, being as how this is a bigger story than I actually anticipated when it was brought to my attention, I said, well, let's go ahead and speak on it immediately, as soon as possible. There's no need to put this off, you know what I'm saying? And I got a video I'm going to play. Hopefully YouTube doesn't try to come for me. And I do got to give credit and a shout out to Six Rings. He's the one who put me on to this particular case. This is going to be a lengthy stream because I have to be as fair as possible on both sides, and I'm going to do my best to give my perception of it as clear and as even on both sides of this story. So I've said this before, I don't like to rush through my thoughts. I want to be as thorough as possible so that there's no confusion, even though I per se don't have all the facts. As this story plays out, though, I will be following up. But do me a solid. Matter of fact, I don't know why I forget this. Do me a solid, like, share, repost, let the people know that we are on. And the video Well, the video pretty much explains it all. I don't know if any of it was altered, but this is I have a question, and I'm gonna share my thoughts. My question before we go any further into this: if you are in this position and this is your son or someone that you love, you see this footage, or you're actually a witness and present for the crime or the situation, would you handle it the same way if it was you? Would you be outraged? Would you feel like this had anything to do with racism? The last 3 or 4 stories that I've done up here have all been connected to white and black scenarios with someone losing their life. The twins that drowned, the twins, they got shot and killed on Bell Mountain, Carmelo Anthony. There's another one that we're going to be doing this weekend. I know everybody heard about this, with the lady using the N-word. And now we are here. The question is this any different than those? I had a conversation with my peoples, right? And he's at work, but a lot of what he was getting out was he has a feeling that this is connected. Like this is some type of, we're going to get revenge for Austin Metcalf, so we will have our revenge by all means necessary. You will pay for what you did. That's what he's pretty much trying to put out there. The problem with this, because as often as it's happening, this shit is not necessarily shocking to me at all. These stories are happening way more frequent than people think they are. It's just nobody is really actually covering it. You don't see this shit on the news every day. The white on black, the black on black, all this ain't on the news. They don't have, either they don't care enough to broadcast it every single day, because could you imagine if Fox 5, NBC, CNN, if they sent their reporters out every single day for a crime that happened? They would never get to go home. They will always be at the office. They will always be at the office. This shit happens so frequently. And on top of that, the level of danger that you're constantly in. Because you got to look at it too. These people who are risking their lives to go out here and investigate these crimes, they're going into territory that they're familiar with through research because of the shit that they have to document and do reports on, but they're not necessarily into the street life. They're not living in those conditions on a regular basis. So when you're sending out your people to do a job, they're just as much at risk as the next person. I don't care if you send them out after the crimes have been committed or any of that. You send them to these locations and you don't know who's watching them or keeping tabs on what they got going on with this specific story that they're trying to cover. That being said, right, there's not enough staff to be able to cover every single case. Bottom line is, this shit happens way more than we want to admit or own up to, and it's sad. It's very disappointing that we're at a place where it feels almost as if this is what brings ratings in. Death, destruction, hate. I hate you because of this. I hate you because of that. You look this way. The media is so messy to paint pictures, to give you the impression that all you see around you is death, destruction, anger, rage. The media wants people scared. The media wants you to fear living your life. The media wants you to fear going into certain areas. The media wants to desensitize you to humanity and empathy and compassion. The media wants you to run into the arms of the Big Brother and Uncle Sam. The media is probably one of the biggest gangsters outside of the government that we have. So why is it that they promote certain things over the next more than anything else? This video, to me, honestly, is just another tactic and another tool to incite rage, to incite hatred, to divide us more. It's to bring more confusion into the community. It is designed to make you look at your skin tone and question whether or not they are who they say they are, standing up for what's right and what's wrong. I was reading a few posts on Threads and Twitter yesterday, and one of them was basically saying what I was saying, that the racism that is in the control of folks who are trying to pretend like it doesn't exist is one of the most dangerous human beings that you could ever deal with. And I have to agree with it. As much as I don't want to say racism exists, it absolutely does. Racism and bigotry is on every single plane that you can walk on. I don't care if you're from Texas. I don't care if you're from Iowa or Utah. Is there. It might not be as big, but it's there. And for me, with this video, it shows further. Not only is our police force inadequate, how they handle danger, possible threats. They're a failure with emoting, controlling their feelings. they're scared. They're more in fear of the threats that they're supposed to be protecting us from versus actually being strong in the situation to be able to handle it properly. It shows that they're not trained the way that they're supposed to be. It shows me that there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of secrecy, a lot of betrayal, a lot of lust, a lot of overall essentially just human patterns in places where that shit shouldn't exist. Like as a police officer, you are supposed to live by a specific oath, and within that oath, your human side has to be present, but it has to have a muscle on it. And what I mean by that is the human in us, the good parts. I mean, not this, but you're supposed to be compassionate. You're supposed to have empathy. You're supposed to be able to be stoic and aggressive when necessary. You're supposed to be able to use logic and rationale when making decisions that's going to alter someone's life or take it away from them. You're supposed to be poised. You're supposed to be in a space where you remove your biases to do what is right. When there's a criminal or when there's activities that might cause confusion or chaos within the structure of a home, a business, or a community, you do not pick sides or favorites. You're not supposed to base your arrest or base who you give tickets on pertaining to if a chick show her titties off or give you some box. As a law enforcement personnel, you are not supposed to say, well, I'm white and he's white, so I'm gonna give them the lesser charge and I'm gonna put more on them because they're Japanese. You would think as an officer, so there's like, I would say if I can name 3 jobs that a person can have where there's no fucking reason or excuse for you being biased, you have to be calling everything down the middle. If there's any 3 jobs I can name, I would say a EMT, let's say a doctor. All right, a doctor, the president, and a police officer. Let me ask y'all a question. Name me 3 jobs where it is indicative that you cannot have prejudice whatsoever. I mean, you have it can be your cousin, it can be your wife, it can be your husband, it can be your child. Name me 3 jobs, or just name me 1 job where it's absolutely no excuse for the person that is overseeing or in that position where they should be. No, there's no favoritism. Wrong is wrong, right is right. And I'm saying all that to say this: as a law enforcement officer, given this specific video, and I'm about to play it here in a second, I'm torn. I'm torn. It's not going to be a very comfortable take that I give. Maybe y'all might have a different one than I do. But based on the video, this could be looked at a number of ways. So this is what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip. I'm gonna play this clip. I'm going to log on to my device. I'm gonna go in to my Twitter stream. I want to know in this situation, like seriously, I want to know in this situation, how do you look at it? Was this murder? Was this self-defense? Was this officer scared for his life? Did this officer feel a threat? We're going to go over this piece by piece, because you might see something that I didn't, but I know what I saw, and the argument that they're trying to present for this, I don't know. I don't know. So let me go ahead and run this real quick. My bad, folks. Hold on a second. I fucked up. That's on me. I didn't proofread this one, so I got to re-download it. I got to re-download it and start over. Hold on. I got you. I was in a rush. I really just wanted to get this out there as soon as possible. I wasn't thinking. But still, I am curious to know, what would you do in this situation? The brother is a former airman, black young man, came to his door. The officer knocked on the door. He knocks on the door. He kind of swivels over to the left. The young man opens the door, and you'll see it when it comes up. As he opens the door and approaches, if you look down to, I believe that is his left side, you can see that they blurred out what was in his hand, but they're saying he had a gun in his hand, right? As he's opening the door, this is where it gets a little tricky. I know it's a lot of opinions that's going to be on this shit. I want to know what y'all think. Leave me a comment on here, on after the stream. I don't care. I just want to know if I'm tripping, if I'm seeing something, or I'm reading this wrong. But as soon as he opens the door and approaches, the officer already, to me, in my opinion, the officer already had his gun out, and he let off about 6 or 7 shots. Ultimately, he killed the young man. The people that got on the camera was saying, look, man, he was FaceTiming with his girl when he got the door knocked. So that's why I say the argument is the officer or the department is saying we not risking a possibility of one of ours getting shot. So it's shoot first and think later. What are you doing in the situation where someone comes to the door with a gun already in their hand? What do you expect is going to happen? That's what this is, and this is why this shit gets tricky. But I want to show you this. I want you to see it for yourself. I'm about to re-upload this the right way. I didn't have it up how I should have, and it just would have fucked up the whole thing. So we're gonna go ahead and get through it. This is real time. Shit like this happen a lot. I'm not even gonna lie, man. I'm looking at this from two different angles. It's so many questions. Was this race related? Was this about getting back at Carmelo for what happened? Is this something completely different? The officer just was in fear of his life, so he had to react as soon as possible. It's hard to really see. I don't like to assume anything. Like that's the problem with a lot of people. We just assume shit, and we don't really we don't necessarily know if this is what's happening or not. So I'm on the fence. I'm gonna give two different versions of what I think this is, just to be fair. But my condolences to that family. My condolences to anyone that's, you know, close to that brother or went to war with him. I don't know anything about him other than that he was an airman, which right there alone should have. This is a stand-up person. Why would a airman have a bad reputation or a bad rep? I'm gonna have to absolutely do more digging on this one. That's why I say it's a lot. You just can't cover this in 30-40 minutes, because I'm trying to figure out what was the call for. Why did they need to go have a conversation with him in the first place? What was this man's background? Did he do? Is there something that I don't know that's going on here that hasn't been released? Was he a criminal? Was he one of those former service officers that got out and was abusive? Was he on some type of? Did he go from being a upstanding airman to a drug lord? Was it a stereotype? Did somebody lie and call the police to come out there to confront them? Like, what happened here? For real. What? But here's the video. I'm gonna let it play through, and we're gonna go from there.
Tonight, newly released body cam video shows an Okaloosa County deputy arriving at the home of Senior Airman Roger Forston's apartment door, responding to a 911 call about a domestic disturbance. The video is partially blurred. The deputy appears to step to the side and knocks. Seconds later, Forston opens the door holding a handgun at his side that was legally owned, according to his family. The deputy orders him to step back and then fires. Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Aden says his department released the video to be transparent.
I want to assure you that we are not hiding, covering up, or taking action that would result in a rush to judgment of Mr. Fortson or our deputy.
Fortson's mother, Mika, says her son was FaceTiming with his girlfriend during the shooting. A portion of that FaceTime video, which appears to be after the shooting, was released by the family's attorney.
Hey man, stay with us.
Law enforcement can be heard talking about Fortson's injuries. The subtitles were added by CBS News.
Yeah, he shot up. You got that 6 gunshots.
They just said, oh yeah, he shot up. He shot up. My baby was shot up.
Fortson's family claims the deputy had no reason to go to his apartment. The sheriff says his deputy went to the apartment he was directed to. In other words, contradictory accounts. Lawyer Ben Crump represents the family.
Roger was the best of us. He was the best America had to offer. And they stole his life. The very people who were supposed to protect and serve him took him away from Mika and their family.
The investigator is now looking into this shooting. The deputy who pulled the trigger has been placed on administrative leave. Nora?
Cut it out.
Let's get into it. Like I said before I played the video, what was the reason for the officer being there? You can tell us that. Because based on what these parents are saying, they didn't have no reason to be there at all. But you're telling me that you were instructed to go there. All right. If you're instructed to go there, why were you instructed to go there? That's already a red flag. Let's add on to that. If you're a conspiracy theorist, this is another Georgia shooting. What's going on here? Am I missing something? Was he a criminal? Did he fall off the wagon? Was he a horrible parent? Was he a menace to society? Does he have record of him doing anything illegal? Has he been arrested? Has he been in prison? Was he discharged without any type of honor behind it? Dishonorable discharge, sorry. What's the deal? The brother seemed to be on the up and up. I didn't see or hear any indications of this man being a threat whatsoever. Now, here's my issue, and where like I have some questions. They say he was FaceTiming his girl, or he was on FaceTime and period. So why did he feel the need to holster a weapon going to the door? What was that about? Did he know what was coming? Now, here's the thing. If there was really a threat, I'm shooting through the door. I'm not opening the door for you. You got me all the way fucked up. I'm not about to sit here and no. If I feel or sense, let's put it this way. Get you surveillance cameras. Make sure that you have that shit connected to your phone. Make sure that you're constantly recording everything. Do not ever leave anything to chance with situations like this, so that you can cover your trail and they can lie on you and say that there was something that wasn't there. My dear airman brother, if I'm him and someone comes to my door that bad, that you have to bring a gun with you to the door, there's no need to open the door. I'm not opening the door for not a single soul. Are you in a neighborhood or a location where that's something that you have to do? Is it that bad that you have to walk to your door like that? A lot of things went wrong in this video. I almost want to go back and play it again, just off of the strength that when the officer moved to the side, it was like, are you trying to move away from the peephole? You know, when you, because I'll look through the peephole, even though that's even risky for real, for real. It's that bad out here. Folks really shoot through your door. I've done videos where the robber was posing as a pizza delivery or a Uber delivery driver, and the whole time they had something in the bag, and they start kicking and trying to kick in the door, and the next thing you know, the person on the other side, they end up shooting through the door because they saw the shit on their ring cameras. Get you a ring camera. Absolutely get you a ring camera. So my man, you went to the door. You should have looked through. And the only thing that I can gather is because you're on FaceTime while this shooting is happening, you looking through the peephole, you don't see somebody standing in front of the door, or maybe you see them kind of off to the side, and it kind of raises a red flag, and it's like, all right, what's going on here? And that's why you got it. I don't see no reason for why that brother would go to the door holding a weapon on him if he didn't feel like there was a impending threat on the other side. But he opens the door. The officer already has his gun out. Matter of fact, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna play the video again because I want to know if I'm seeing what you're seeing. To me, the officer already had his weapon drawn because he let the shots off way too fast. It wasn't like he just pulled out and then click. It was almost like he opened the door, came to the door, and it was already like, you know what I'm saying? So it feels almost like it was an assassination attempt. I could be wrong, but it's like, how do you look at this? That's why I say there's two different perspectives. You can say, well, shit, my man had a gun on him when he came to the door. I'm a police officer. You at your front, at your threshold, holding a weapon. You're giving me the impression, shit, it's either me or you at this point. But see, hold on. I'm gonna play it one more time. One more time. I don't want to, cause hold up.
Tonight, newly released body cam video shows an Okaloosa County deputy arriving at the home of senior airman Roger Forston's apartment door, responding to a 911 call about a domestic disturbance. The video is partially blurred. The deputy appears to step to the side and knocks. Seconds later, Forston opens the door holding a handgun at his side that was legally owned, according to his family. The deputy orders him to step back and then fires. Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Aiden says his department released the video to be transparent.
I want to assure you that we are not hiding, covering up, or taking action that would result in a rush to judgment of Mr. Fortson or our deputy.
Fortson's mother, Mika, says her son was FaceTiming with his girlfriend during the shooting. A portion of that FaceTime video, which appears to be after the shooting, was released by the family's attorney.
Hey man, stay with us.
Law enforcement can be heard talking about Fortson's injuries. The subtitles were added by CBS News.
Yeah, he shot up. You got that 6 gunshots.
They just said, oh yeah, he shot up. He shot up. My baby was shot up.
Fortson's family claims the deputy had no reason to go to his apartment. The sheriff says his deputy went to the apartment he was directed to. In other words, contradictory accounts. Lawyer Ben Crump represents the family.
Roger was the best of us. He was the best America had to offer. And they stole his life. The very people who were supposed to protect and serve him took him away from Mika and their family.
The investigator is now looking into this shooting. The deputy who pulled the trigger has been placed on administrative leave. Nora?
What are we doing? What are we talking about here? Am I missing something? Let's really make this make sense. And now that I really think about it, right? So he's on the phone with the gun in one hand, the phone in the other hand, opens the door. That doesn't sound like someone who has the intentions on doing any harm. That sounds like someone who wanted to make sure that this shit was recorded. Because I'm thinking your man stepped over to the side. That sounds more like if you've ever been in a situation or seen a scenario where officers are going to raid somebody or they're going with a search warrant and they have to strategically set up outside of a person's property to prepare to do something. If the other person isn't compliant, that seemed more like a strategic move. All right, this is how it's starting to play out in my head. So he lied about having to go there. He there was no reason for him to be there in the first place. they contradicted themselves according to the statements that were made in the video. So let's say he lied. You weren't supposed to be there. He shows up, knocks on the door, boom, 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 boom. He gets in position. The brother goes and opens the door. He has the phone in one hand. He has the gun in the other hand. And now it's making more sense to me. He don't know why the fuck you there. He has no clue as to why you're on that man's doorstep. Makes more sense now. Because either the area that he's in is dangerous, and that's the type of time you got to be on. For a lot of you white people, you don't really understand that shit because you don't go through any of that. It be our own kind robbing us and doing this, that, and third. We be in some of these dangerous ass neighborhoods and areas where folks will absolutely and try to rob you. And this, it could have in theory have been that, but this wasn't that. It seemed more like, who the fuck is this at my door? Why is an officer at my door? Nobody called you to be here. Or is there something that I know about you, or something that I know about what's going on with y'all, and you came to get something done because of the information that I have? The bottom line is there was an intent behind this. It wasn't a coincidence. No one just randomly shows up at a person's doorstep and lets off 6 rounds into another human being for no reason. There was absolutely an intention there. What I would have liked to have been done here is when the brother was on his FaceTime, he would have flipped the camera so that it would have actually faced the officer as the door was opening. Because to me, I ain't no genius, but I watch a lot of situations or crime TV shows and real life footage of police raiding houses, and I've seen the shit personally. They don't have their gun holster. They have their shit on them in their hand, already ready to go. That officer absolutely already had his gun out, and he was ready to shoot. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Because the way he let off, and he told him to step back. That's another thing. You told him to step back. Why? Because you already knew that you were about to shoot that man. You already had it in your mind that you was going to kill him. And if there's anything that I have learned from these cases, is when you shoot someone, that blood splatter, depending on how close and how far away from the person you are, that shit can absolutely get on you. I'm not a forensic scientist, but now, like, the shit is computing in my head. Two things. They know how to determine if this was a defensive or a offensive situation. From a distance, it might appear a little differently versus if the man had opened the door and was right there on that officer's body. He wouldn't have been able to raise his weapon and get off the shots the way that he wanted to. So he had him back up, so he didn't get the blood on him, and he had enough space between him and the young man to be able to do what he did. But like I said, I digress. Y'all might have seen something completely different than I did, which is why I asked the question. Was this murder? Was this racially motivated? What really went on here? What was the story behind it? I'm really asking the question. What did that man do? Yeah, you said in one case he wasn't supposed to be there, but the deputy is telling everybody else, "Oh, I was told to come." So you're lying. Which tells me you were under the assumption that they were going to have your back and they want to cover your story. You didn't have time to cover your story. Because if this was coordinated, the department would have had your back. They would have said, we sent them here because of such and such and such and such and such and such. They didn't do that. Which means you just kind of freestyled your excuse to make it look like it was going to be one thing when it was really something else. And unless they can prove that they sent you there for something other than what we saw, I'm absolutely going to be inclined to believe that this was murder. This was premeditated. And to even, this is what you're going to have to do, sir. You're going to have to show me records, documentation. I'm going to need a paper trail that shows or indicates that he was a threat to you, or that you had probable cause to be at that man's property. If you can't do that, good luck. Now, the only real defense or case that can be made is, well, he came to the door with a gun. He came to the door with a gun. Let me ask y'all. If you're that police officer and you pull up to someone's property, they open the door with a gun in their hand and a phone in their hand, what's your reaction going to be? How are you going to perceive that? Is that going to appear to be a threat to you? Are you shooting first and asking questions later? I'm just trying to be neutral here. Like I said, I don't know I have no evidence and I have no proof that this was racially motivated. It very well could be racially motivated. Rewind the stream back to what I was talking about earlier. There are people that work certain jobs. And to be honest with you, you shouldn't do this on any job. But when it involves life and death, you cannot be biased. You can't pick and choose who you fuck with and who you don't fuck with. You can't pick and choose who you want to show love to and don't. Who gets the charge and who doesn't get the charge. It's right down the middle. Being an officer, being a doctor, you are not allowed to permit your carnal, dark human instincts and practices to oversee your duties to the community. And that's why I have such a huge problem with some people who are in positions of power and control, because the way that they handle people and their job is piss poor. You're not up to standards. It's unacceptable. And now we have someone who is no longer here with us. We don't have no real answers other than you trying to make it seem like this was a threat and a danger, and I had to react. And if I didn't react, it was going to be my life. But according to what we just heard, your ass wasn't even supposed to be there anyway. So explain that. What's going to happen? They're going to change their mind and say, "Oh no, yeah, my bad. We did send them there." Is that what you're going to try to tell me? No. They didn't corroborate your story. You lied. The video is pretty clear to me. I don't know. Airman. Airman. Let's talk about that real quick. I've never been in the Army, the Navy. I don't have no experience in that, right? Just like I can't dance like Chris Brown. But I do understand that there's a level of discipline required to be able to move like that. You got to go to train. You got to train. You got to go to school for some shit is naturally instilled in you. But things like being stoic and having that manly, I'm going to hold myself accountable and operate in a way that is conducive to my country. I'm going to make sure I know and understand the terrain, how to survive out in the fucking jungle, what to eat, what not to eat if I run out of food, how to be more diplomatic, and the training, the level of discipline and training that has to go into being a part of any type of government responsibilities such as war in general, you can't be no dummy, man. That much I know. You can't be a fucking dummy. Everybody is saying that man was a good guy. I know people do that shit. Even criminals that actually fuck up the world and kill people and ruin people's lives with drugs and shit. Even those people families will lie and say, oh, he was a good person. Oh, she was a good person. No, the fuck he wasn't. No, she wasn't. So I like let's not even act like that shit don't happen. You know damn well your kids be bad as shit. This don't give me the impression that this was that. That man actually took a different path in life. And I'm trying to give him his flowers. Because most of us don't even live our dreams or get into the type of purpose that we're supposed to. He absolutely did something that was selfless. I don't know too many men or women that's going to put their life on the line for the rest of the United States. You don't know if you're going to make it home because you might get blown up or lose a leg or some shit. That man sacrificed his life for the very piece of shit that took it. Sad, disrespectful, unacceptable. And the only thing that I can think would excuse, and it's hard for me to even say that, but I know that's what's going to be the argument. He had a gun when he came to the door. The point that I was making with him being a trained airman, my point was he would know how to handle himself if there was a real danger or a real threat. There's more here. There's a lot more here than what they're talking about. And for this deputy to have pulled up like that, the suicide murder of the twins, they said a hiker found them, but it was a former firefighter. This is a deputy. The twins that drowned, what I'm noticing is that the people who are allegedly or presumably behind the deaths of these black kids or men in these recent cases are either former or currently working in jobs where they're responsible for the life of the other person. Yeah, interesting.
Damn.
Y'all think because y'all got a badge, you fight fires, y'all can just get away with this shit? This shit is I want to know what's going to happen with this case moving forward. They put him on leave. They ain't fire him. They didn't suspend him. They put him on leave. So I don't know what's happening here. I got a strange feeling that they're going to dismiss this like they dismissed everything else and claim that was self-defense. They're going to make it look like he had the right to be there. Let's go ahead and get that out the way. Prove to me that he had the right to be at that man's property, my nigga. They said you weren't supposed to be there. You're saying you were supposed to be there. Prove to me that you were supposed to be there. Because even if you want to make it seem like, oh, it was fear for my life, you wasn't even supposed to be there. That shit don't sit well with me. Because that man came to the door with the phone and the gun. Damn, man. Like, it's going to sound cold or messed up that I say this, but shit, he might as well had just shot through the door. Or as soon as, like, because the officer, as soon as the door opened, he say, back up, bang, 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 bang. It was like, shit, nigga, my nigga, you should have just went on ahead and shot through the door and not even opened it. But you know the fucked up part about that is they wouldn't have even believed him. He's black. Even though this nigga done served, and I hate using the N-word, but even though this man served the country and everything, they still gonna say he black. They ain't gonna take his word, even if he would have shot the officer and killed the officer. They would have still took the officer's side over his side. So it's like, damn, man, what do you do? Yo, if y'all hear anything on this, if you getting any updates, do me a solid. Just email me, send me a message. Let me know, like, if you hear anything new on this before I do, because I really want to know how this is going to turn out. As far as I'm concerned, the officer should be put behind bars underneath the prison, for real. That's just my opinion. I'm looking at it like it was murder. Because you don't have a warrant. you don't have nothing to, you don't have no leg to stand on, as far as I'm concerned. You were somewhere you weren't supposed to be, and someone lost their life in direct effect of it. So my condolences to the family. I hope y'all get justice. If I hear anything new, I will absolutely let you know in the future. Do me a solid. If you're not following me on YouTube, make sure that you follow me on YouTube. The link is in my bio on Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. It don't take but a couple of seconds, and you'll get notified faster about my uploads, the shit that I talk about, so on and so on. I ain't gonna stop talking until Lord willing, and we're gonna get some justice here. We really need to start holding these folks accountable for their inability to do their job properly. Don't take jobs that you know you're not going to honor, using them to pimp out the community, to abuse your positions of power. Just go and do something. If you want to be a Klan member, go be a Klan member. If you want to do like this shit, I'm over it. I am. But we'll be back on later. Me, Jason, Sydney. Tonight's discussion: TikTok moms. Yay! You can get your 5 minutes. Y'all want all this attention, you're gonna get it. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock on the dot. Y'all be easy. I'll talk to y'all later.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I, my ancestors speak, they tell me they're tired of them praying on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I surpass peak, until they think we are equal. Please, all I want.